So you want to report it. If they refuse, and they're like, the weird thing was when I walked in, and I had given the guy the order, you know, the guy's name was Ricardo for the pickup. Well, I had given the guy that was walking up to my car the name, and he said, well, we don't have one, you'll have to come in. That was already signed, you know, that was refusal, because he said that you'll have to come in, is what he said. So why would I have to come in? And why would they already know that quick? You know, why would they already know and say that I'd have to come in? If they didn't have the order, they didn't have the order. So he said, well, you'll have to come in. So I went in, and like immediately the lady goes, oh, we don't have that order. I didn't even get a chance to explain it, you know? So I showed them the app. I showed the name, you know, she said pickup. So they asked me to order, which we can't do that. You don't want to do that. So if they say, well, we don't have the order, could you order it? You don't want to do that, because that's extra charges. Because they already have it assigned for pickup. It's not a place. So basically what it means is the place is when you use the card for the order. So it was a pickup, and a pickup means that you just go in and pick it up. It's already in their system. They also used to call it an OLO, which is an online order, and they used to call it a fleet, or they call it a fleet order. HEB does a lot of those. So I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, well, okay, you know. Those things happen. So I said, well, here it is. So I showed it to him to show proof of it, and that still wasn't good enough. So they refused to make the order from that point on. I saw it as discrimination because they refused to make the order from that point on when I showed them the app, that I was already there. So they discriminated against the fact that I showed them, discriminated against the fact that I was there to pick it up, and I don't know any other thing to put other than that they didn't receive the order. They obviously didn't receive the order, you know. Well, that's not obvious, because that shows pickup and it shows on their end, or it wouldn't show on my end, because they're hooked up to their online order system. So I know for a fact they were not telling the truth, because I picked up a lot of Walmarts. I picked up a lot of Whataburgers, and every one of them is a pickup. All the Whataburgers are pickups. They get it in their system. And we've done all these Whataburgers around here, and there's never a problem. He did not look very happy. He looked very angry at me. And that's where I took the idea that it was probably discrimination, because he looked like very angry. So I went ahead and just left, and going on to the next one. So well, let's see. Listen, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't see Star is Born, okay? Come on. But we're going to see Leonard Bernstein. We're going to watch it and sit through it. We'll keep giving them tries and keep giving them tries. Actor, yeah. Filmmaker, we don't know. We don't know. Ask Scorsese. Spielberg's giving him a shot with Bernstein. So he had to go kiss a guy in Central Park, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know much about Bernstein. I'm reading a little bit about him, Wikipedia. Pretty important thing, because Spielberg did West Side Story. Might as well tell the story of Bernstein. Leonard Bernstein wrote West Side Story. He wrote the music to it. So we'll see. Star is Born, come on. Come on. Try again. But they did get a Grammy, or was it a Grammy? Or no, they got an Oscar. They got an Oscar for the song. I don't like Suicide Stories. Not like that. Ooh, don't like them at all. The thing about the Barbra Streisand one, which is the good one, the Barbra Streisand, yeah, and Kris Kristofferson. Kris Kristofferson was already, a rock star. Kris Kristofferson was one of our greatest. And the thing is he accidentally runs the motorcycle off the road. But I appreciate the fact that he's approaching suicide. But you don't accidentally strangle yourself. But I appreciate that aspect of where he's approaching, Star is Born and the Suicide Story. Those are touchy, though. Those are very touchy. Him having a Roman Catholic background would know. But, I don't know. There's only so much of that I can take. So, I'm just like, okay. The color code and all the, you know, the cast of characters, Sam Elliott and Dave Chappelle and all this, you know, it's like, okay. I don't know. You can tell a personal story. You can smell it just like that. A personal story. Escape from Maine. You can smell it. Escape from Maine's a personal story. A personal story. We're waiting. All they got to do is not say no, which is a double negative. But sorry about that, English majors. All they have to do, and what they usually do, is say no. But all they have to do is say yes. And we're in like Glenn. Well, there's the Ridgely. Lights are turned off. It's a Sunday. Anyway, so I'm looking basically for extra tips. So basically what it means is like something like coffee bar, Oscar Pub would probably be perfect. That's where it is right there. I think it'd be like a perfect little thing. The guy's name's Robbie. So we're gonna go talk to him. He usually does like outside sourcing, things like that. I didn't know they were driving GMCs. They look like a GMC, but they were driving something else. I couldn't tell really from that. But I'm gonna go talk to Robbie and see what he thinks. We're right here. It's Oscar Pub. I got a good 5 set. I think it's up to a 6 or 7 set. So I spoke to Paige. She's running bar there. Robbie, it's Robert Johnson's ghost over there. Anyway, Robbie is the guy that's running the bookings. So it's an outside company. And they book for Oscar's Pub. And I'm going to try Paige. I told Paige to get a hold of Robbie, or if Robbie comes in, and to see the name of that company, because that might help. It's a good plan, but Oscar Pubs uses an outside company. So at least I could get my name around. He doesn't go in all the time. My cousin owns a bar. They just come in, count the money and leave, or do accounting or whatever. They're not always there. So we're gonna have to probably, because I use an outside company, I'm probably gonna have to look somewhere else. These things I usually see because they have a stage. They have a stage there. I'm gonna see if I can get a photo of the stage. Let me do that. I just want to kind of look at the stage, because that outside company, I might can call them and let them know who I am. I'm also trying to get a booking at a place called Backstage, which is Hip Pocket, but I already sent them my email or my connection to the YouTube page. It's right there. It's about this size. That's the room right here. And they usually have a mic. They got a music stand. So, not on Sunday night, though. In all cases, there are married couples that forgive one another. Even in the case, and I hate to say of adultery, but it does happen. And with Angel, I would have to forgive. Not all of them do it. Sometimes the husbands they say go, they throw them out, and they move on. That happens. But some cases, the husband goes, I have to forgive you. With Angel, I would be like, I have to forgive you. But we have to get a live-in nurse. Because Angel has spina bifida. It's somewhat of a mild case. But she also has neurocardiogenic syncope. So it's neurocardiogenic syncope. It's basically where you go into non-seizure seizures. You just stare into space. I always say, think of Pink Floyd, The Wall, where when the character is staring at the television and he's just not there, nobody's there. That happens to Angel, and we would go to a sermon at the church. So we went to a church, MacArthur Boulevard, and all of a sudden I would turn over, because Josh was the funniest comedian / minister, pastor that you could ever come across. He's very funny. He's at Bogart, Georgia. But all of a sudden, I would, be laughing at Josh because Josh was funny. And I would be like, where did Angel go? Because Angel would be sitting right there, but she wasn't there. She was still there, but her blood pressure drops dangerously low. That's what neurocardiogenic syncope is connected to. It's a blood pressure issue. Then her eyes would go vacant. She'd be staring in space. Just... okay, and it just was nothing was there. And we'd have to call the ambulance, because I would say Angel, and there'd be no response. It's not psychological, it's physical. It's a psychophysical involvement, a detachment between the two. And the body shuts down for safety reasons. It also is connected to her spina bifida. Now, we had the best doctor in the nation. His name was Robert Livingston, to help her have those 3 children. And she had to be monitored the entire time. The 3rd child almost killed her. And the after results of it, they were wanting to give her zinc. And this was in Arlington. I refused. I didn't want to give her zinc because there's results to it. It almost kills you. But that was because of her postpartum, but also the effects that she was going through by going into these non-seizure seizures. And the doctor said, well, we can give her zinc or something like that. And I said, well, what does it do? And he says it has a heavy result. It makes them feel pretty ill and sick, and it's painful. I said, can we skip it? And he said, there's a chance we can, but she was not conscious when this was going on. She was in that state. I said, let's try to skip it and write it out. And we did. She recovered from that episode, and we left that ER of Arlington. It was in Arlington. And we were able to recover out of that. Now, that was right after the birth, I believe, of Gwendolyn, or maybe even Elizabeth, too. She had episodes after Elizabeth. So she recovered from both episodes. David, she did better with. She had to push for an hour with David. It was tough to get David out. David got out. The first thing with David was his tongue. No, I'm sorry. That's not true. That's not true. Sorry. That's not true. That's Elizabeth. Sorry, I got it mixed up. The first thing with David was his eyes. His eyes opened before he got into crying. And I have the footage. They laid him on the little thing. His eyes opened. And then I said, hey, good job, dude, or something like that. And he started crying. And that's the most beautiful sound a father can hear, is the crying. They weighed him and everything and got all the varnics off of him. Not a lot on David. He came out just at the right time on the date of August 21st of 2014. The next year, because they're Irish twins, that's when Elizabeth arrived. Now, she arrived on July 10th of 2015. It's not quite a year apart. One more month, they'd been a year apart. So they share the same age for 1 month. They're almost twins. Elizabeth, when she came out, the first thing, her little tongue, Her eyes were still closed, her little tongue. And she loves to eat. She likes sweet stuff. She likes sweets, and she likes burritos and noodles. She likes to eat noodles. And she's the most beautiful creature on the planet to me. Gwendolyn, she came out and just, okay, let me go back with Elizabeth. Elizabeth came out with about 30 minutes of pushing. It was about 30 minutes because David was 1 complete hour of pushing. Elizabeth was about 30 minutes or so. I went to go get coffee because we had been there. I stayed with Angel all the time through all the visits, the gynecology, everything. I stayed with her all the time, right by her side. I even slept on the hospital floor or on the couch of the hospital room of the ER. I never left her side as much as possible. At least I went to go get food. Elizabeth, I had a little bit of coffee beforehand. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to get a little more coffee and then come back in so I'm a little more alert. Because Ricky told me that in childbirth, you become what's known as present. That you become very astute and aware. And you do. You change, you know. It's something's happening. And it's big. And you're focused. So I said, okay, I'm going to get a little bit of coffee to make it even more focused. And Denise, she's my ex-mother-in-law, loves coffee. So I went out to the coffee break room down the way where all the nurses and stuff, and I got my coffee and came back, had my little coach jacket on. You know, they have this little ER, what are those things called? Scrubs, and it has coach on the back. They usually put the baby's footprint on it. So I had the little coffee, and I went into the ER, and there's Angel, and the head's coming. The nurse is right there, and she's called crowning. The nurse says, you know, she's crowning, and I'm taking a sip and set it down. Didn't have time to get my coffee. She was already coming right out. They got her out, held her up. I don't remember if it was her or Gwendolyn that I got the doctor to take a photo, but I cut the umbilical cords on all three. Not at the same time, but, you know, this time I cut her umbilical cord, and they, released her, held her up, and then I looked, and her little tongue came out just like that. They set her down, and she was already crying by the time that they set her down, which is another beautiful sound to hear your daughter cry right out of the womb. Then we go all the way to so much time. 2018, December 3rd, 2018, the quickest baby and the happy one, Gwendolyn. Now, Angel and I always talked about Gwendolyn being the special one and the smart one to be the referee between the two siblings, and she's the younger one. And Gwendolyn came out like in 10 minutes. To me, it seemed like 10 minutes. I don't know. Well, so let me explain something. I'm talking about the pushing. I'm not talking about all the labor. The labor you get there, all of them are 12 hours of labor or 24 hours of labor, usually 12 to 16 hours of labor. That happens at the home. She's in labor at the home. She, the contractions get closer and closer together. And eventually, she does the 8 millimeter or the 8, I think it's 8 inches to 9 inches of, I think they have to have, I'll have to look it up, that it's like 10 inches of dilation or something so the head can come out. I'll have to see the exact amount. All that dilation and stuff, they can give them medicine and stuff and help them dilate throughout all that process. All the medicines. There's various hormones and medicines that they give them. Midwives know all about it too. But regardless, that takes time. That takes like 10 hours or it takes 12 hours of breathing and going through it. That's all true. But the pushing can take 10 minutes or the pushing can take an hour. Okay. So literally, I think the pushing was 10 minutes with Gwendolyn. It wasn't a whole lot. I think we had, I don't remember that. I know there was an Asian nurse that was helping. I remember the redhead with David. There was a redheaded nurse. We got physical on that one. Like, come on, girl, come on, push, come on, let's go. And we, you know, because he was a little bigger, and she had to get him out that way. It's like a coaching thing. It's like, come on, you got it. Come on. Whoop, got to go. I'll tell you about all this later. Gwendolyn was the easy one. She came out with a smile. Pick up this cigarette order, drop it off at your, well, doorstep with the appropriate age and ID. And then we're going to head back and see Edmund the kitty cat. There should just be 2 of them.
Yep. Pouches, right?
Pouches. Got it itemized. I know this thing will try to draw off the phone and make a payment. That's why I wear the mask. Mm-hmm. Because I got it on security for facial. So if I go like this right here, it'll draw off the phone and try to make a payment. Yep. We got a lot to do in the country. You know, we want to be respectful to sickness. The sickness will not end in death, but unto the glory of the Lord. I'm not a person that really believes in sickness per se, and I know that's crazy because I've had some Christian Science background, but I respect it, and I know you can get, you know, the cold and stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but you do have to buy into some of the sickness that's out there. So I take that stance as a protection against myself to say, look, it's not that bad. People overprescribe. People, they overdo it. They get too dramatic about sickness. And you do have to buy into a lot of it. There's a great documentary called Unrest, Patricia Gillespie. And you might want to see some of that. It's called Unrest. I believe it was on Netflix. Patricia's one of the executive producers. She's a producer for Netflix. I have talked to her, just talked to her the other day. Check that out. But sickness can be a frame of mind to a certain extent. Yes, you can cut yourself. You're not made out of metal. I don't know how the Christian Science people would go about it. The guy that was one of the big guys behind Christian Science, he invented a type of sport called base jumping. Okay? I believe it's bridge, antennae, strut, suspension. Yeah, suspension for like a bridge. Okay, wait, let me go back. It's building. Yeah, building, antennae, suspension, which is like a bridge, and then earth, like a mountain. So he'd jump off these things, like, for example, a building. He'd jump off a building. He'd jump off an antenna. He'd jump off a suspension, which is like a bridge. And he would jump off the earth, which is like a mountain. Okay, so he broke his feet and broke his bones and refused any type of medical attention. And it's just crazy, but he didn't believe in it. So he walked around with a limp, and he would still do it. He died base jumping. So he wasn't the all Christian Science guy, okay? But a lot of them don't get sick. Another guy you can talk to about Christian Science is the lead singer of Metallica. And you know his name. The lead singer of Metallica was raised Christian Science. He's got a very healthy voice. One of the best guitar players, one of the best singers. Well, his lead guitar player is better, but he's a great guitar player and a great singer and knows a great band, and that takes great health. It takes great stamina to play one Metallica song, and he'd play 20 or 30 of them back to back with barely a sweat. Well, he would sweat, but you've seen the guy. You know his name. I just said it in my head. Anyway, ask him. He'll tell you about Christian Science. Christian Science doesn't buy into the sickness. And Mary Baker Eddy believed that there is no sickness. You could fall from the sky and land from, and survive it, but that's not always true. I don't. It has happened. People have fallen out of airplanes and survived it. It has happened. It is true. If you believe in Christ and call upon his name. This is 100% true that this has happened. It's Mary Baker Eddy is a very exciting read. She's an exciting read. She was a real witness unto Christ. She was a woman. She ran the church. They have a Christian Science here. I've visited a few times. Beautiful people, all intelligent. They'll stand up and they give testimony about their unbelief of sickness. They do not believe in sickness. And they talk about their lives prior to the sickness. So when I was sick, blah, blah, blah. Now that I don't believe in sickness, and they talk about how they are well. My doctor, Dr. Horsley, who is Seventh-day Adventist, would pray with me during the healing in the name of Christ. And that was a big deal. Just believing in your health. Believing that you can beat this addiction or whatever it may be, whatever the sickness that you buy into, right? You have to understand Mary Baker was a genius, and there's some truth to it. But she was a radical. She believed you could fall from high places. That's why the base jumper was Christian Science. You could get cut. All kinds of things, and there was no fear and no medical attention. So, and the Jehovah's Witnesses are the same. They don't do any blood transfusion. You have to be respectful to their belief and why they do it. I'm not purely Christian Science, okay? I'm not 100% on Christian Science. I know you can get the common cold. I wear this mask. But I respect the fact that you don't have to buy into it, okay? I'm going to go with that. People are going, okay, maybe I understand. Because people will buy into their sickness. You mean I'm not sick? How could that be? Why would I not be sick? Because Jesus loves you, okay? Okay. I think we found it right here. We're going to have to look at this one. This is going to be an ID check. Ooh, that house looks nice right there. Getting all my ducks in a row. That seems way off. Let me check something. Bunting. There's a famous children's author of the same name. Eve Bunting, I believe, out in California. Great children's writer. Gotta check her out. She writes these little short stories. I talk about her sometimes, but they're children's stories. Wonderful writer. She's done very well. She's from Ireland. Eve Bunting or something like that. It's probably this one. She uses hardship as a way to explore America and the child. To explore the struggle of America. Eve Bunting, she came from Ireland. I'm gonna get an ID check on this puppy. Y'all just want the mileage. I do talk a lot and you just want the mileage, but look at this right here. Macy Hill, City of Council. I'm sorry. Woo! City of Council. City Council, sorry. It sounded like I said City of Cancel. City of Council. Council. Sorry, I laugh sometimes. Good song right there. It's going to be a guy named, if you always fail, just talk about Jeff tweeting a ghost is born. And that will solve the problem. That's what I'm going to do in the White House. They're going to go, well, Cole, well, why don't we fight with Russia? Theologians, Wilco, a ghost is born. Buy the album and then come back and talk to me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do those kinds of things. And Jeff Tweedy is going to probably, he played at Barack Obama's, Wilco played with, Barack Obama introduced Wilco. But he might think I'm an a-hole. I don't know. He may not. I do play guitar. I might could force him to do it. Not at gunpoint or anything like that, but truth serum or something. I know he's a smoker, and I don't like it. But I know he recovered from something way worse And I know he's got a funny show on YouTube. But look at this lawn right here. We might do a Wilco song. I don't know. Wilco's a good band. They're a really good band. We might find another band. Willie Nelson will be old. You know, I watched Mika Nelson at the Hollywood Bowl today. He played, I believe, today or yesterday or sometime soon to this day, you know, around this area, or not this area, but Hollywood Bowl. Hollywood's not everywhere, but it's certainly lingering. Hollywood Bowl is where he played. But Mika Nelson would be someone maybe. And he's not gonna like it because he knows I want to outlaw marijuana. But why do we want to make something legal that's messy? It's wrong influence. Maybe California, I don't know. It's just so stupid. I say this is my slogan. Ronald Reagan had, you know, a slogan. We have a problem with marijuana in our country because people are under the wrong type of influence. So what I would say on marijuana is this: grow up, not weed. Okay? That's what I say to you. Grow up, not weed. Look at that kitty. Isn't that cute? Same routine, right? Let's roll over like Shamu. Look at that kitty. 13 millimeter? You Miss Linda? All right. We're head out tomorrow. Okay?